Good morning, everyone, and welcome back to our candidate interviews. We are Moms for America. Our main focus is to empower parents. And so, one of the ways that we want to empower you is making sure you have as much information as possible as you get ready to vote in the people who will represent you. So, we do not endorse anyone with Moms for America at the local level. The national level can, but at the local level, we do not endorse anyone. But what I want to do is just show you a little bit more than that 5-minute conversation. The goal is to have a little bit longer to ask some harder questions and to give the person an opportunity to present themselves. So today I have Carolina Herrin. Is that correct? Did I pronounce it
Herrin,
correct?
yeah.
Herrin, just Herrin.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to be all, Carolina Herrin. And welcome.
Well, thank you. Yeah, thank you for having me here, and I'm excited to be able to chat for a bit.
Wonderful. So, my very first question, and I try to ask the same questions or similar questions to everyone, is simply, why are you running?
Yeah, so had a few people reach out and ask me and say, are you interested? Is this something you would want to do? We're looking for someone that can help and help the county, help the residents. And they know I'm a hard worker. They know I've been serving for a while. So I had a lot of people ask. So I said, well, let me think about it. Let's see, and um, this really is for me a position that is just service oriented. It's a position where we're supposed to help the residents, help the county. And because I'm really service minded, I really considered it and said, yes, absolutely, this is something I want to do. I want to be able to help the residents. And this is that next ability for me to do that. I've been serving my whole life. I mean, literally since I was young, and trying to find solutions to problems. And so this gives me that opportunity to put all those like living experiences and different leadership experiences, put that into place to help residents in the county.
Okay, so let's dig a little bit deeper. What do you see problems that you can help with?
So I'm prior law enforcement, and I think that gives me a different view into public safety than any other candidate has. And so public safety is the top portion of our budget in the county. And so I believe that I can have a different perspective as to what's needed, what's not needed, have those tough conversations, get in there, help the sheriff, help attorneys, public defenders, but really kind of be a little bit more in tune with, you're asking, let's say, something simple numbers for $10. Where's those $10 going, right?
Mhm.
What equipment, what training? And then because I have the experience, I can have those conversations and be like, okay, maybe can we do with $9? Maybe can we do this type of training and not get this equipment, or have those tough conversations. So that perspective, I think, is also different than any other candidate.
When it comes to public safety, what do you think are the biggest issues or causes of
Mhm.
what issue? What are we facing?
Yeah, right now in our county, we have 5, I believe, felony cases. And just that alone is the cost of that, the involvement in totality of not just public safety, but the county and residents as a whole. It takes a toll. So I think that is something that our county is facing right now that is very important. So in the cost piece, the county went to the state and asked for some funding to be able to help, especially related to the Tyler Robinson case. They asked for like 2 million, but the state gave them 1 million. So to offset some of the costs, right? But that's one. So we have all these others that we're facing now. And so I really think we need to have someone in there that can understand that piece and be able to work together with Sheriff Smith in this case and Attorney Gray. They're not opposed, right? So they're going to
Mhm.
be there again, and have those conversations in regards to what is needed for these cases. How do we move forward? Do we have the right prosecution in place? Is there the right public defender in place? See how we can work with the funding we need. How do we request more? So I think that is something right now that our county is really going to have to focus on.
One of the things that I've heard that causes where a lot of crimes are happening, I have friends who are who are police, is high density housing. What is your thought on it? Just seems like we have a lot of high density housing. So
Yeah.
what is your thought there?
Yeah, so I'm not a fan of high density housing, but as a county commissioner, we really don't have a say in that portion of code or planning, zoning, right? That lies within the cities. And
Okay.
I strongly believe that that's one of the key principles of being a Republican, property rights and believing in, let's stay in our lane and what we need to do. So county commissioners don't really play with that. Again, we in conversations and in talking to different municipalities can probably, and with MAG, kind of be like, hey, let's maybe slow it down a little bit here, or what's going on in this area. But for the county piece and the county lands, it's not something we would do. There's no development for high density in the county side. That's my commitment to you. That won't happen. But yeah, in the cities, I mean, I believe even Saratoga Springs had to put kind of moratorium on it because it was just out of control. So
Yeah. That's funny that you say that because when in watching some of the debates, that is some people's main issue is high
yeah,
density housing, and it's like so. As a citizen, I really appreciate the clarification because I wouldn't know that unless you told me. So, thank you.
yeah.
Okay, what do you feel? Is there a difference between being a conservative and being a Republican?
Um, See, I think that's like the divisive part of our party a little bit. I think there's different levels of anything. There's different levels of growth within your job, within your family, within your politics, within your religion. So there's different steps, right? I guess. I mean, we have a lot of brand new delegates. They're still trying to understand the system, how things work, what is the caucus, what is convention. So I don't think that we can be like, well, you're not conservative enough because you don't understand the process, right?
Mm,
So I think that's just, you have to be careful, like putting labels on people that way. But I mean, everyone seems to throw around the word conservative, right? And it's kind of like, what does that really mean? But I think as long as we're following the core principles of the party, following the Constitution, following those guiding principles that are, you know, of conservative value, I think, yeah, we're Republicans. We're Republicans for that reason. Um, I think it makes it a little divisive when people start trying to, oh, you're not conservative. I mean, myself, I've been called too conservative, not conservative enough, establishment, too moderate, or super ultra MAGA. Oh, you're MAGA, you're a Trump. I mean, I've been called so much, I don't even know where I am on that spectrum. So, according, to others.
it's hard when people want you to walk in lockstep or like that's I find that to be the hardest thing about being a conservative is that we're fiercely independent.
Hmm.
And so if you're fiercely independent, there will be places where you don't agree. Um, so if you were to take the most extreme sides of things, whether the far left or the far right, what are the things that bother you the most about either?
Yeah, well, I don't know, like the far left. I'm very pro life. And that's one that just bothers me. And really, I mean, it's flat out murder. And so there's that spectrum, right? Um, so that's one. I would say Second Amendment. I'm a strong Second Amendment believer, and they're just over there. That's just not even something that they believe in, So there's those different types of, like, I would say those two are probably the ones that bother the most. Or, also even something as simple as they believe that the government's there to save you. They are there to provide, and all of that is one probably that bothers me the most as well. Because being a conservative and being a Republican, we know that we work for what we need. We work for our wants. We are not expecting the government to solve our problems. And, smaller amount of government possible is what we want. And so I think that's another one that's very different.
Yeah, I feel like small government, I mean, it seems to me that people on both sides, especially younger people, are leaning into wanting bigger government, wanting a nanny state.
Mhm.
I find that kind of concerning.
Mhm.
Um, what is the most challenging thing you have faced being in office?
Oh, well, I'm not in office.
Well, before, have you never been elected?
Uh-uh.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
SCC is elected.
Yeah, so
Okay,
I have a few different positions in the party,
right.
that I'm elected to, and that's just because I've been serving for so long, right? So
Mhm.
right now I'm a national delegate, which I'm elected to. I'm elected to the state central committee, and then elected to House District Chair. So I'm a House
Mhm.
District Chair on that. So yeah, I guess the tough thing being elected in this position is, and I think everyone goes through this, but I don't know if it's just a party dynamic, but um, our attacks or our hardships in party leadership or party being elected to things inside the party is kind of what we mentioned about the being Republican and conservative. It's all those spectrums of the belief in the party. And so having to handle that when you have someone that is, let's say, I'll use President Trump. He's polarizing, and so you can have someone that's like, "Well, I voted for Trump, and I don't agree with him," or you have someone, "Trump is it. He is the number one thing. He's always right." So that
Mhm.
spectrum of differences, that's I think the hard part in handling being elected to a position in the party.
Okay. Um, yeah, and I guess how do you navigate that? How do you navigate an extremely polarized
Yeah.
group of people, including the people who will show up and demand town halls, and how do you deal with it?
Have conversations. You do what's right all the time, regardless of who's there and who's watching. So just have those conversations, like explain it. This is why I'm doing it this way. This is what I believe in. And hopefully we can get to a point of some type of agreement. I think strongly that we can agree to disagree. Everyone has different opinions. And so I think number one, you come by listening. Listen. Why do they feel that way? Why do they feel they need this? And then explain your side. And then hopefully you come to at least one point where you can agree on. But if not, then at least you heard what they had to say and you also gave your reason why.
And then you were a police officer, right?
Yes.
So if things get heightened and aggressive, you have the skills to.
Yeah, it's a lot of communication skills, verbal skills. Um, yeah, it's again, I think it's listening. We really need to listen because a lot of the times we think we're listening to what people are saying, but if we just sit down and take the time and find out why they got to the point where they're at, I think it diffuses a lot of the aggression.
Let's talk about ICE and immigration.
Hmm.
Um, where do you stand on ICE itself?
I'm very supportive of ICE, very supportive of the work they do. Um, if I could tell a little story, I'm an immigrant. I was born in Brazil and then moved here and became a citizen in 2003. And then I voted for the first time in 2004. And then I became a delegate for the first time in 2006. And so, being an immigrant, I understand how the process works. My dad was over the genealogy department in Brazil at the time, and he started thinking that, we need to do something better. We need to better our lives. I want to try to go to the United States, take my family. Well, there's a process. There's a process that you need to go through. And so we started the process. We waited our turn. We did things legally. We immigrated legally. And so all that to say that yes, like I strongly believe ICE has a purpose. When I was in law enforcement, I worked major crimes and I worked very closely with ICE and Homeland Security. So I see the work they do and how it works with your local law enforcement. I received an award from ICE for the work I did with them. And so, yes, I believe they have a purpose and a reason, and I do not support illegal immigration.
Do you feel that I'm trying to play devil's advocate here because
Hmm.
it really feels for a lot of people, it's a very emotional
It
thing.
is.
A lot of people feel things like, I was reading someone who had said, I'm a delegate because I'm deathly afraid of President Trump and what he might do to my children, who because my wife is an immigrant. But I think he's got that wrong,
Absolutely.
right? Because if you have children, I think you're safe.
Hmm.
Okay.
Well, not just the children part, right? Are they married? Have they
Yes.
started their paperwork and process? Again, there's means, right? There's a way. Um, I mean, why are you fearing? Are you undocumented? Are you fearing because, right? There's a few questions in there that I think we need to know more of, but I don't know why you would fear something if you're doing something that's right. If you're doing something right, why do you need to fear?
So, can I just dig a little bit into Brazil? What when you lived in Brazil, did you was it a time when things were hard, or for your family was it relatively comfortable? I mean, because
Yeah,
go ahead.
no, I think it was hard, especially now that you look back, you're older and you kind of see the bigger picture. Um, my dad was the only one that worked, so my mom was home with us, and especially at the time, I mean that's difficult. It takes a lot, and working for the church or the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. It's a very fixed income. The differences of like working for a company versus a church, right?
Mm, right.
Um, so we had what we needed. I never felt like we didn't have what we need, but that's a big reason why we decided to come. It was my dad wanted to study. He wanted to better himself so he could better things for our family. And so obviously it wasn't a good place to be at. And I don't think he could progress and we could progress. And here in America, um, this is literally the land of freedom. And so knowing that we were able to come here and have progression and live the American dream, I think that's a big reason why we came and he wanted to come.
And I know this has nothing to do with with the seat that you're in, but I'm just wondering how come I grew up in Eastern Washington, and I grew up
Mhm.
around a ton of immigrants, or I mean, honestly, illegals, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
that's how I grew up. It
Hmm.
wasn't a big deal at all to me. Hardworking people as far
Yeah.
as I could see, right? But where did the flip come where so many people who've come here hate it,
I
hate
know.
America? How
I
did
know.
that happen?
Yeah. I don't know, but the easiest thing that comes to mind, because I had someone else ask that, it's the mass. I think it's the amount, the numbers, the quantity. Um, I mean, let's take Utah. This is a great place to live. We're always number one economy, in the economy or different things like that. So people migrate here, right? So the
Mhm.
immigration coming to the United States. And I mean, I think that shows they want to be here. They see the good, but then that mass without legal means, right? Just creates this group of people that think, well, I can still act this way. I can still do the things from where I came. Um, and if you're coming to a place illegal, like illegally, you already broke the law. Why do you feel like you are going to follow the law when you're here? Right.
Yeah.
Um, so I think all of that added together creates this mass thought process. And yeah, it's very concerning. I think that's why we really need, I mean, it's immigration's at the federal level, it's the national level, and the system's broken. It really is. It needs to all overhaul and really a fix. But
You being an immigrant, though, you have more of a voice. And I'm not, I'm not a person to put people in boxes. I'm the last person to do that. However, I do recognize when your voice is beneficial. would you be open to having town halls, or even, are you bilingual? Like
Yes, I'm trilingual.
trilingual. Okay.
Yeah. But yeah,
So
absolutely.
just talking to people about, I mean, so I'm teaching ancient history mixed with civics this year. And I asked my students first, who makes the laws? Right? Because I gave them a pre-civics test and they're like, "What does this have to do with history?" And I said, "I'm so glad you asked. Who makes the laws?" And they're like, "I don't know and I don't care," because again, it's middle schoolers. And I broke down we the people,
Mhm.
and when you start to bring that home into, say, little tiny laws, like we're not talking about the theater kids up at the top, but the little teeny tiny laws you can do something about. You choose who goes to office. If you don't pay attention,
Then
then the theater kids come in. I, I teach theater. That's why I'm not impressed, because I look and I'm like, theater kid.
Oh my gosh, that's funny. No,
So
but yeah, you're right, and absolutely, I'm open to doing town halls, and I think I've actually done a few town halls with Carlos Moreno, who's
okay,
elected in
yeah.
Salt Lake
Mhm.
County, and we've done them in Spanish, we've done them in Portuguese, but yes, we do have a large concentration of folks that speak other languages and want to be involved. So I think yes, that's something that we could do.
Okay, here's a hard one though. Some people want to be involved only to benefit themselves. And
Mhm.
some people want to be involved because they truly want to become Americans.
Yeah,
How do you deal with that?
I know. Education. A line that I think I used, I can't remember where I heard it. I think it was from a TPUSA conference I went to, but freedom doesn't mean free stuff, right? So
That's
kind of
great.
explaining the process and how it works and what it is that freedom means to us and why you're here. Education should be one of the priorities in kind of helping people understand. And so, yeah, and the more you educate, the more people are going to be able to be on your side over here versus that left leaning side. And so I think education is a big piece.
Right. It's so strange to me that people come, in my opinion, many people come here hoping for opportunity and hoping to have that American dream, but the second entitlement gets in front of them, they change. And to me,
Mhm.
entitlement is a form of slavery. That's the way I look at it, is like, because you can only get so much, because the second you get more than that, you lose everything.
Mhm.
So that's why I'm like, it really is kind of a slavery situation. So what do we do? My biggest concern is, there's a saying that says, good people plant trees under shade, for whose shade they will never sit under.
Mhm.
Terrible paraphrase, but that's basically it. What do we do to help the next generation?
Right. Yeah. Again, education and having them be involved. We actually, again, in talking to delegates, there's a lot of young delegates this round, a lot.
Yeah, I think that
And
has to do with Charlie.
yeah, and I love that. We need to make sure that more young people are involved and they understand, and we bring them along. I've been bringing my daughters to different events since they were little, right? And so now they've always just had this curiosity, and now they love it. They want to be involved. Um, TPUSA conferences took them to Colorado, to Arizona, to different conferences to learn and hear. Bring them to party events, central committee meetings, conventions. Bring them along and have them understand the process. And I think that way it just grows from there. They start talking, they start liking it, being involved from a young age. They'll stay involved longer. So,
Okay, slightly harder one. You are the only woman running.
yes.
There will be people who will look at that and go, she's just counting on winning because she's the only woman. And then there are people, there are people who are concerned with the um with feminists running everything, quite frankly. Um, how do you how do you clarify that for people?
Yeah, I don't know why that would come up, why that's a thing. Um, I'm, I'm my own person. I'm a hard worker. That I don't know. The feminist thing is not for me. I, I'm I love my husband. I love what he does. I love what he stands for. I love how he leads our home. I mean, that feminist thing's not for me, but that's not to say that I'm not a strong woman and capable. You know, I have had several leadership positions. I'm the legislative affairs director for the Utah Department of Corrections right now. I worked in the commission office with Commissioner Beltran. Um, like I said, I was a police officer. I mean, I worked with Educations International, was a regional director for them over several different states where I worked with kids and schools and ensuring they had what they needed for studies and different things like that. Like I've had several different experiences in leadership positions that put me in a spot to be able to do this job really well. That has nothing to do with me being a woman. It has to do with me being qualified for the position. And I think that's what we need to look at. So
What do you think you do bring that's unique
as a woman, it is different, right? I left my job as a police officer, big being the reason because of my girls, and so that's the difference. I'm a mother, and that to me was a priority, and I wanted to make sure through their formative years that I was there for them and I was able to be at home with them. And so I'm very thankful to my husband that was able to work during that time and provide for our family, that I was able to do that. Um, but yeah, like there is a difference being a woman, a different perspective, motherhood, like I said, being home with my girls, those are all different living experiences. I was able to be on parent school boards and school boards to help them through those school years. I don't think anyone else has done that. So those are different things that I bring to the position again. So
Yeah, I think there's a difference between like having a feminine compassion
mhm.
and having what I call toxic empathy. Oops. But
No, it really is. I don't understand that at all. I
yeah,
really don't.
because people can manipulate, and I
Mhm,
really am concerned about that. Okay, so um I had seen some things online. I do pay attention to what people are posting, and some
mhm.
people had said that I wish I had it in front of me, but you supported an initiative basically for a jungle primary. Does that sound familiar to you?
Yeah, I never heard the term jungle primary, but I don't know if they're referring to Senate Bill 54, right?
Okay.
Um, but with all that being said, I've been on the SEC, and what I did see from this comment was that they were concerned through. I did a resolution on the SEC in 2019 because I had several people come forward and ask, and in conversations with other SEC members, we have members in this volunteer position with 30 plus years in that position. And so they were saying maybe we should do some term limits. And so that resolution was put forward saying if you've been in the SEC for 10 years, that's your term, 10 years. So, and I mean, I strongly feel 10 years is a long time to be in a service oriented position where you can give someone else the opportunity, going back to everything we've been talking about, how do we bring more people into the party? Give someone else the opportunity to serve. You were in there for 10 years, give someone else the opportunity to learn, to be involved, to understand the process. So that's that. Um, I don't support Senate Bill 54 because if I did, I would have gathered signatures. I'm running convention only. I'm a caucus convention only candidate. And like I said, for 20 years, I've been serving the party. I've been involved. I've been going to meetings. I've been present. I've been helping. I've been, at all of our central convention, executive, you name it. Like I've been to these meetings and I've been involved. And so I strongly believe in the caucus system. And I believe that we need to have candidates that are strong enough, born in the caucus system, that can go onto a primary and win. This seat will have a primary. We have someone that bought signatures. So we need to send someone that is strong enough, capable enough, can do fundraising, can have the ability to go to the primary and become the winner, right? The
Mhm.
elected from the caucus conventions system. So that's another, I'm running this way. This is what I believe in.
I appreciate that. So there are people who've said, and you said this actually in this
Mhm.
thing, that there are people who would consider you establishment.
Right.
Can you defend or
Yeah.
yeah.
So I work with the legislature. I work with elected officials. And again, I'm the only one here that has those relationships in this race. And we need those relationships as a county. We need to, the county commission is kind of like your middle. We need to push back the state and stop those mandates, unfunded mandates, especially, be able to push back when needed and have the relationship to make those collaborations when needed for the county. And if that makes me establishment, then I don't know, but I'm here to serve the residents of this county, and I need to do the best I can. And having those relationships gives me the best opportunity to be able to bring more resources, more services, ability to understand why certain laws are being passed that affect our county, have conversations with those legislators that make those laws that impact us the most. And so I don't know if that's why, but having those
No,
relationships is important for the county.
that is a good way to turn around what's said, right? And to
Mhm.
find the positive in that. What about if you have relationships with legislators, how will you deal with it if you disagree with them?
Oh, I tell them. I disagree with several of them right now. They know. I mean, it, it's been one of those things where again, you can agree to disagree, and you have
Mhm.
friends. And so if you are friends and you have that ability to talk, it doesn't mean you have to agree on everything. That's not a good friendship. There- you disagree, you have to talk about it and you have to explain the whys, and you tell them, I don't agree with that. And I had plenty of those conversations.
It just reminds me of, I mean, so many people cannot, common sense is no longer common.
Hmm.
So a lot of people will just say immediately, "You didn't do what I wanted. You're a horrible person." And
Hmm.
some people will go as far as say, "You're a horrible person and you deserve to die."
Oh yeah.
We're in a crazy place with that. And so I think that bringing back kind of um calmness and
Yeah.
order, I mean, those are things that I'm looking at
Yeah.
in, like I said, if you're the drama kid, it's not happening. Because
Well, you have to be able to talk and
yes.
and have conversations with people you disagree with as well. Like to your point, we don't agree with everything the legislators are doing right now, or the legislature is doing right now.
Right.
I mean, you look at it, we've got funding for an extra court and all of that in Utah County, right?
Mhm.
Not wait, we got a law, not funding. So it's like, okay, it looks good. We need it. Thank you. Well, how do we pay for this? Right?
Right.
Like you
Right.
can have these conversations and still, again, I like the process. I don't like the full process. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it's okay to disagree. It's okay to say this is wrong at the same time saying this is right. And thank you so much for doing this. And because they are the legislature, agreeing with them is not bad.
Right.
It's okay to agree on when it's right. And
Right.
so
Okay.
I think people also disconnect that just because you agree on something doesn't mean you agree all the time.
So, as far as transparency goes, how will you communicate?
Yeah. A big part of the transparency piece for me is we as commissioners need to communicate out. you should never be expecting someone to reach out to you and call that transparency. Um, so I've had a plan from day one that one of the things I want to do right off the bat, and I've talked about this with Commissioner Beltran, for example, is start having meetings at 6 p.m. once a month. And the reason why I say at least once a month is so we can gauge the process. The staff's going to have to start later in the day, so they could work through that evening, right?
Mhm.
And then we can see, is 6 p.m. the right time, or should we change the day? Should we start, right now it's Wednesdays at 2 p.m. That is so
Yeah.
hard.
That's a
So,
horrible time.
nobody goes to that. I
Afterwards,
mean,
there's church and
yeah.
yeah. Like,
So it's like, should we change the day? Should we do it
yeah,
a different day? Is
yeah,
6 p.m. good? Is it 6:30? But
yeah,
anyway,
yeah.
start that.
Okay.
I'm going to send a newsletter. It'll be out of my own pocket, my own money. I'm not going to do anything with the county on that. I'll just be sending it out to everybody. Um, Obviously, starting with the delegates and everyone that's here now, and then growing that list further and having different surveys, different things to be able to collect some information. If you want to get information, I'm going to send you information. So the newsletter, and then twice a month, I'm going to do open office hours. So what that means is I'll just be there. Do you want to learn about the commission? Do you want to learn about public works? Do you want to learn, whatever it is, come in, ask questions. Let's get to know each other. And then one time a month in conversations with different cities and municipalities, we can do a satellite office. So be available closer to those residents in Springville, in Alpine, in
Mhm.
Spanish Fork, right? Kind of bring the office to them in a way. So those are one of the plans to be able to hopefully get more transparency for our residents. It's been fascinating to me that most of our delegates don't know when we meet. They don't know the date. They don't know the time. They don't know how many commissioners there are. I mean, that's really concerning. We have to do a better job at telling our story, at getting the word out.
Well, yeah. I mean, what I was saying is teaching middle schoolers about civics in a way that's neutral is also super important. You cannot, um, because you have to, just like what you have to do. You have to reach a wide range of people and a wide
Mhm.
range of ideas. And that there is a teaching aspect to that.
Yeah.
There's a huge teaching aspect to
Yeah.
that. Um, what do you think is the difference between a statesman and a politician?
Ooh, that's a good. Well, I'm again the only one that didn't lose an election and is now running for this. So I think that's a big difference. I'm not a politician. I'm not someone looking for a title, looking for the next position, looking to climb the ladder, whatever that means. I'm not that person. This isn't something that I'm doing to be like, okay, after I do this, what am I going to do next? Or, oh, I was in city council, now I'm going to run here. I'm literally doing this because I love our county. I love this area we live in. I love that this is a family valued oriented county, and we need to keep it that way. And that's why I'm running. That's the difference, I believe, in terms of being someone that's doing this to continue serving, to continue being involved and engaged, to continue helping the residents be active in the process, versus someone that may just be doing this to be a politician, to have a job, to have a career, to have something to do, whatever, right? I think
Right.
that sets you apart.
Well, and then Utah County did do like a massive raise for commissioners.
Yes.
Do you support that?
No.
Would you would you reduce it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
110%. I'm supportive of reducing it.
Okay.
Also, again, I was in the commission office with Commissioner Beltran. He didn't vote for the increase, right? He was one of the only ones. And I'm committing right now that, and my entire candidacy, that I would not do that ever, vote for a raise on myself or raise on elected officials. I'm sorry, but and it wasn't just the commission. People tend to forget. It was all the elected officials that got raises and get raises when you do that. So um, I know that like the other elected are probably like, but I don't think that's right. I don't think that we should be voting, raises on ourselves. And I think they did it 9 years in a row. Like it's been a long, several times. So it needs to stop. It needs to stop, and it will
Wow.
stop with me
Yeah.
if I'm in there.
Well, especially because a lot of times commissioners are not accessible. A lot of times our elected officials are not accessible.
Yep.
And so to give yourself a raise when it's who are you serving exactly? That's
Accessibility and doing the job for what it is. Another reason why I'm running, we have to have someone in there that is going to be accessible, but actively engaged all the time. So this is a full-time position. It's not only is it a 9 to 5, right? Which
Mhm.
some of that hasn't even been happening. It's an all the time. You have crises that come up. You have emergency situations that come up. You have your board meetings later in the day, later in the evening. Like you have to be accessible all the time and ready to go all the time. The very least you could do is be at least attending the commission meetings and being available, in during office hours. So, but there's way more to that.
Okay. If had you been a commissioner in 2020 when all of the rules and regulations went through, what would you have done?
Yeah, I would have not voted for the mask mandate. That would have never happened. I don't support that. I'm against government mandates. I don't like that. In fact, I get asked a lot, so I'll just say it. I'm not vaccinated. I don't have the COVID vaccine, and neither does any of my family. That's another one that I got a lot of pushback on from the establishment, right?
Like
Back to
that's
our
some
question.
guts. That's some guts to say
Yeah.
right before
Um,
convention. But okay.
I got a lot of pushback for that.
Yeah.
But it was just something that we didn't believe in. And I believe in free agency, and I believe that you're able to make your choices. And we decided as a family that it wasn't for us. So we didn't do it. At the same time, that does not mean that I don't support people being able to do it if they want it. If you, I didn't do it, but if you wanted to do it and you wanted to get the vaccine, you should be able to do that. Hindsight's 2020, right? We're in 2026. This happened in 2020. We didn't know what was happening. There was all sorts of chaos, concerns. So if there are folks, especially older, whatever, that wanted to
Mhm.
get the vaccine, I think they should have the opportunity to do so. I
Mhm.
mean, our own president, President Trump at the time, was telling people get vaccinated,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm.
He worked on
Mhm.
the vaccine. We have the prophet of the church, Peter, the predominant church, telling people get vaccinated. So you need to be able to do choices and allow people choices. But as for a mandate and putting a resolution forward like that, never. I would have never done that. Done that. The other one that I would have never done was the death penalty. I support the death penalty, and I believe it's a tool that we need to have available. So those kind of resolutions and things that were put forward in the county were things that I would never have done.
Okay. Um, I'm going to go all the way back to your first thing, public safety.
Okay.
I am often concerned because words are changed to mean something different. So this goes more in it's a mix between public safety and the question of DEI initiatives. Both of us sitting
Okay.
here, we're both minorities, right?
Yep.
There will be it's very likely, I mean, historically speaking, that in the midterms, our party may lose badly. And a lot of initiatives about DEI for DEI,
Hmm.
diversity, equity, and inclusion, under the name of safety will come forward. You know what I mean? Does that make
Yeah.
sense to you?
Yeah.
Okay, so because they'll say this group is the most likely to remove themselves from the earth, but then another group will say no, it's actually us, and another group will say actually us, and there's a difference, in my opinion, between the science and science.
Hmm.
And evidence-based often means that somebody who works for the company or who wants to push that is going to
Decided what that means.
decide
Yeah.
what that means. So, what will you do as a commissioner? How will you deal with that?
Yeah. So
Everyone wants
I
that.
don't I don't support DEI. And to your point, being a minority, I think it's offensive. I've had to work really hard for things that I did and for where I'm at now. And I think being a minority or anyone in that place, you can work just as hard and you can gain things for the right reasons. DEI is, there's no way to say it, but that's a way for losers to win.
Ooh.
I strongly against that. Um, that it just gives an opportunity for people who don't need to work, don't need to do their job, don't need to, right? They're just being placed there because, to your point, someone decided that they were special or that they were a victim. And so I'm strongly against that. I don't believe in that at all. You're never going to see me pushing any DEI initiatives anywhere.
I was talking to somebody who was asked, well, Kafusi, who was asked to um, raise the pride flag. And this. I'm
Oh,
not gossiping. This is
yeah,
exactly what
yeah.
she said in her interview, right? So, and she just said, well, she had a different response. What would your response be if people came to you and said, "We want to see the pride flag raised"?
No, no, period. This is the United States of America. There should be one flag raised. And this is the state of Utah. There should be one flag raised. That's it. That's the only flags we need. And I think Utah County has their flag, right? Their logo. It's like a blue flag. And so, sure, put that one up. But the only flag that's needed is our flag of our country. I think that's the main flag that should be up everywhere.
Well, Carolina, this was a great conversation. Is there anything else that you want to say, that you want to get across before I let you go?
Oh gosh, I don't know. I think we hit so much. It was awesome. Like, you
Thank
really kind
you.
of just pieced it out and able to give me an opportunity to really explain and talk about things that maybe people are hearing. And I really appreciate that. Just, come talk to me. Come talk to me. Come get to know me. I think even we all do it. We all do it. So I'm not putting this out there, but preconceived ideas on people, right? And like I keep saying, until we talk to them, till we understand where they're coming from, until we know their why, I think it's really easy to just throw bombs or say things. But then when you really get down to it and understand them, then you can get to know that person. And I think, like I said, you come to a consensus. You really do. So, yeah, I thank you for doing this. This was absolutely great.
It's my pleasure. So, and I will turn this off, and then in the next 10 minutes or so, I'll get several clips and I'll send them. You're welcome to send them out.
Awesome.
Everybody, please like, share, leave your comments, because your comments, your well-informed comments, help other people make their decisions. We've got some important decisions to make. So thank you for watching,
Yeah.
and I'll see you next time. Thanks, Carolina.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.